We're good.
What is good, y'all? It's Daryl here, and it's the Breakdowns Bankroll Show. And yes, we are back for another day of just shooting the you know what about basketball. I've got with me my two favorite peeps. I've got my man Rex and Steven with me. Fellas, how are you doing? Rex, what's good?
Surviving's the best way to put it through this NBA season. I made a joke saying I'm a NHL guy now, but nah, that was a joke. Ball is life, so we'll never turn away from basketball, even though how hard the times can get. I watched too many games when they went 10-72 not to be supporting them now.
Steven, what up?
Not much. I'm always a Chicago guy first and foremost, but they're not in the bubble. Therefore, I am now the biggest Suns fan on the planet. All seven of us, I'm number one, biggest fan.
Nice.
Taking shots at the Phoenix fan base a minute in, I like it.
A minute in. All right. Well, we're going to jump right into this show. Make sure that you check me out at It's Durrell on Twitter. I am an NBA capper for the Breakdown Sports. Rex, let them know where they can find you real quick. And then you, Steven.
At @REast_easy with a Z.
Yep, it's easy. Just my name, just Steven Carlson 97.
All right. So I know we're going to look at tomorrow's games, but we have been the trio of hot takes. So I want to jump right into this, into some hot takes that we had. You can remember. And we can we can say real quickly how either good or bad you feel about yourself right now. I'll start with me.
Are you going to send it to freezing cold takes? If the worst one, does the worst one get sent there?
Yeah. I mean, is there anything worse than frozen cold? Because we're all there. All right, so we had Kevin say, which is the best so far. He's not with us. If the Clippers are healthy, that's the team to beat. Steven, with you first. Looking at that team and what you've seen with gameplay, do you think that's still the team to beat?
Yeah, I think when everybody's playing, I think they're the team to beat because I think they have wing defenders who can lock up anybody they go against when they need to, like when the games really matter. And then you got a couple of guys who are dogs. You got Lou Will and you got Harrell, and then you got Pat Bev. Just that team defensively is good enough that their scoring doesn't have to be great. If their scoring is not completely on, they're still going to be better than most of the teams they go up against. So I think they'll be playing their best basketball at the end of the year the way Kawhi always does. So I think they are the team to beat. At full health, obviously.
Okay, so full health. We still don't know what's going on with Montrezl Harrell, right? Like, is he going to be available to play? We still have Lou that he's there, but not all the way there. So Rex, how do you feel about that?
Consensus from the article that we've wrote, the Lakers is the team that we had was the team to beat. Were they coasting? Were they not? That's where you kind of got to think about what they are. They're kind of locked into that one seed, still have it. And Kevin was pretty right on saying the Clippers are the team to beat. I'm pretty sure all four of us said as long as they get two of Lou Will, Pat Bev, Zubac, or Harrell back in the bubble, that we all like their chances to take down those Lakers. So if the Suns don't get in there, then yeah, they're the team to beat just because the Suns are on a run. It's pretty awesome. I'm surprised Steven said yes to the Clippers being his Suns homer. He should have beaten the Suns were the team to beat. But I know it's Toronto's title. They've looked pretty solid. So if it's not the Clips, I might have to go with Toronto as the team to beat.
Okay. Right now, the way it looks, I would agree with Steven. The Clippers, and me being a Laker fan, they are still deep. And it really seems like they just really came to the bubble to just toy around. You could say that for a lot of teams. They just really came here to just go fishing, have a Maxi Kleber play you some damn techno, and you just keep it moving. So right now the Clippers still look deep. Toronto, I did see some kind of flaws. I did see some slips in their defense. Nick Nurse, to me, always has some kind of defensive scheme. And I remember even saying this before the bubble even kicked off. Hey, go back and watch that Toronto and Pacer game and see what they did to the Pacers offense in the last 3 minutes of that game where they were losing. And it's a suffocating defense. And maybe this was just another team, Rex, that was just kind of just toying around, right? Not really going full strength. But this isn't what Serge Ibaka said, right? And this was still the same team that was there the earliest. So I don't know if they were still like in coast mode or not. So that hot take, we'll see what happens with that in the next week. Steven, you said Miami doesn't make it out of the second round, if at all the first. Rex, from what you've seen with Miami, do you agree?
They be playing the Pacers. That's already predetermined. So that's going to be a first-round series where Miami has to win it. They have the talent. They have the better guys there. If they lose, it's going to be considered an upset, not just because of 4 versus 5 and Miami has it. It's been the TJ Warren show. So if he's still cooking, we'll see it. But, him and Jimmy have the beef. So because of blowing kisses at each other and everything. So those two are probably hyped to see each other. It's going to be a very physical game. We've seen it get a little bit feisty and testy so far in the bubble. Supposedly these guys are even on the same floor I saw in the hotel that they're in. So I'm definitely expecting to see fireworks to fly, and they should make it out of the first round. If they lose to the Pacers, the season is a failure for the Heat.
Wow.
Yeah,
Steven, do you concur?
I still completely agree with my initial take. I'm not sure if they beat Indiana because you got Miles Turner, or I'm pretty sure Turner, Sabonis, Oladipo, and Warren are still playing. And if those 4 guys are still playing with Brogdon, I like them over the Heat. And if for some reason the Heat get out of the first round, they have to play Milwaukee, they're not winning both of those series. Like, there's just no way.
I think that's correction. DeMontis is out, right?
Okay.
Correct.
Well, all right, even if he's still
Yeah.
out, that makes it more of a toss-up, but I still like the Pacers.
Yeah, and so this is another one. I'd have to agree. Rex, how can you deny the way TJ Warren is playing? I mean, you can almost compare it to how Devin Booker. I mean, these guys could be the top 2 MVPs in bubble play.
The way we were talking up the Heat in our previews and how good this team is, how the defense is probably their best part of it. If you can't stop one guy, and yeah, TJ Warren's been hotter than a microwave right now, but if you're the Heat, you got to figure out a way to stop TJ Warren because he's been bouncing around teams for a reason before now. So maybe he's just more locked in. They're not. But yeah, from how much hype we've given the Heat, they got to win it or it's a bad. And I know we had low expectations for them this season, but given how everything's gone, they need to win the first round.
Okay. Another hot take, and we'll end it with this one. I said the Lakers would go 8-0 in the bubble. How I feel about that now, man, I'm glad I put absolutely not a damn penny on that because if I had the money, I would have bet the farm on that, seeing how they looked. Rex, what is your impression of how the Lakers look right now in their gameplay?
Can't take anything from it. That's what I honestly think. LeBron is in his not load management, but get through those 8 games. Make sure you keep the 1 seed. Don't fall out of the 1 seed. But other than that, you're just playing games. You're getting the reps up. Try out the new stuff. I think Coach LeBron is fully at it. I'm more worried about AD's health than anything else because we've seen him show out, and he's been the go-to guy for them. LeBron's going to turn it up. I think he's just going to go beast mode for the upcoming games. But if AD stays on the pace and is fully healthy that he's shown in the bubble so far, the Lakers are still going to be a threat. With them and the Clippers, going to be a hell of a series.
Yeah, no, I mean, Daryl, I think you were right about the 8-0. It's just if they read the article instead of just listening to you, they would have seen that you meant to spell Lakers SUNS. So it was right. They just misheard.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it'll probably be Lakers, Clippers in the Western Conference Finals. They're just trying to get that chemistry down again. Because when you're bringing J.R. Smith onto the team, it's going to take a while to get that chemistry down. It's not like he just comes in and can play with anybody.
All right,
you got to adjust to him.
Okay, so Steven, quickly explain this gameplay. Why do you think the Lakers are looking as bad as they're looking right now?
I mean, I think they want to figure out what kind of bench they want to run, because I don't know if they had that really set yet. So LeBron's just he's basically, I almost feel like he's treating this as training. Like let me use this as a training camp. I already know where we're gonna finish at the end of the season, at like the end of the regular season. Like I know where we're gonna be for the playoffs. So just let me get ready for the playoffs. I don't need to go 100% right now. So I think they more than almost anybody else was treating this just as a warm up to get ready for the playoffs. That's why they got caught by a few teams.
They did. It did show that. All right, now we're going to actually get into tomorrow's slate of games. But before we do that, fellas, I've got 3 questions that I want to ask you. I just some quick. Just give me your quick hot takes on these, if you will. Just quick fire round here. Rex, what is your thought on the current state right now at this bubble play? Do you like it or do you hate it?
It's going to get better is the best way to put it. We've seen some games, like I said a little bit ago, they're getting feisty. You see the teams into it, and then you see other games where they're just sleepwalking. Once the 17s that I saw the Fresh Prince Bel-Air where Will Smith gets thrown out of the house, once they're all kicked out of the bubble, I think that's when we're going to see this come to as close as we can to NBA playoff basketball, because you can see this means a lot to some of the guys. Once the games start to mean more, I think we'll see the invested mantra that we've seen from the NBA playoffs.
Yeah, I think I think I don't know. It's kind of more like I almost think as long as they stay in the bubble, I think it's one of those things where people start to go a little like stir crazy. Like we can't really leave here. We see the same people every day. At some point, that's going to cause some animosity that I think is going to make these playoffs a lot more interesting than usual.
I am interested to see how interesting. Steven, your biggest surprise right now, and you already spelled out SUNS. Your biggest surprise in this whole new game.
My biggest surprise is how bad the Pelicans played, because they were playing better at the end of the regular season. They had an easy schedule in the bubble. I thought they were one of the teams that would have been gifted a spot in the play-in game, and then just with the same talent they had that was winning games at the end of the year, they just couldn't do anything in the bubble, which was probably the most surprising thing to me.
What about you, Rex?
It's probably a game. I just always gotta get in there. The least surprising thing I've seen is Markelle Fultz still sucks. The most surprising thing I've seen was the Nets probably upsetting the Bucks when the Bucks seemed to be playing that game at full throttle. So the Nets, and the biggest player in the Nets is TLC right now. him just getting buckets and scoring at will and shooting above like 50% a clip a game is probably the biggest surprise that I've seen.
To follow that, I would probably say, to be honest, my biggest surprise is Portland. You're really seeing how a fine-tuned machine runs on all cylinders when you have each player playing their role. It's like OKC on 10. I could use so many analogies on how I think these teams match up with Portland and look almost similar to Portland, but Portland's so much better. They run that offense good. Nurkic, it almost seems like he hasn't had any time off whatsoever. You could say the same thing for Collins. I don't know who the hell Trent Jr. thought he was, but this guy is thinking he's Dame Lillard Jr. This team is just firing on all cylinders. So if you're saying, or Dame is saying, or even before Dame, because we saw that whole Dame and Skip blow up, that whole little back and forth that went down. But the media and people were saying that Portland, if firing on all cylinders, should be a number 3 seeded team. And so if that's the case, and Portland makes it in, that does provide a huge problem for the Lakers, even more so than I feel the Suns. So my biggest surprise is to really see how good the Suns are. All right, and with that said, we're going to get into tomorrow's games. Let's establish something. We all tried to say that we weren't going to do any betting. We were just going to look at, the small little pool of information and data that we had and no serious betting. And I guess I lied. Rex, did you lie about that?
Yeah, I ended up lying. I tweeted out some plays, but definitely played some more personal ones than I tweeted out. I don't want to name the book, but some of the books are doing players scoring props over and the team to win. And man, they are fun because it's like Devin Booker over 25 points and the Suns to win at like plus 175. It's like capped at $100 max, but like it's a little fun thing where you usually can't parlay a player prop and a team to win together. So this one book needs to get the money in because right now it's quarantine. So those bets have been probably my weakness right now.
That's crazy. What about you, Steven? Did you lie?
Actually not really, because I was waiting to get closer to the end of the games before I started really betting. And then my house lost power for 8 days, so I missed a bunch of the games, so I couldn't even bet on them if I wanted to. So I think nature was like, you don't want to do this right now.
Right. That was a gambling god saving you. I didn't do good at all. I did say I was going to stay away, and that was the intention, and I did not keep that intention.
What was it? It was 8-6. So like last Tuesday when you said when the Suns were the Pacers were dogs to the Magic, I remember you hopping all over that right away. So don't knock yourself there. You had at least 2 or 3 games where you called it on the spot. I think it was just more of your unit management more than anything that screwed you.
It was the unit management that screwed me. You're definitely right about that, Rex. I did make a little of that back betting on the Suns, or not the Suns, I'm sorry, on Utah. I remember one of my guys, or I think it was AJ, chiming in. It's like, okay, you're doing a 3-unit bet this early on a Monday? I was like, yeah, these lines are just wrong. It just looks wrong. So if you can catch it, that's the whole thing, is to catch it, right? If you can catch it, then you're going to make some serious money. But if you're not catching it and you wait for that steam to hit, that's where the gamble actually starts, right? This is when you're going to different books saying, okay, can I get it a half off here? So it was a mess. And maybe I'll get more into speed now when these playoffs start on next week. First game I got for y'all, Denver at Toronto. So we can say at because they did include crowd noise. I remember me saying that we were just going to say team and team because there's no home field advantage. But as you can see, the NBA did an actual great job, right, of really controlling this environment and making this game feel like a game. So they pumped in that crowd noise. And so we've got Denver at Toronto. You've got Michael Porter Jr., who is doing Michael Porter Jr. things. I mean, this guy was only bit by, the injury bug, right? He was another – can we put him in the same category as Gallinari, right, where he was always been good, a damn good player, but just always injured as well. And you're seeing him right now, one of these players who is in a controlled environment, no traveling, just really making the most of his time. Toronto, I feel, is still a better team, and they're even more deep. Jokic is not consistent right now. I don't know what's going on with him, if they're just really telling him to take it easy. You've heard a lot of talk about you can't lose that amount of weight in that short amount of time and really be good. So if I were looking at this game, there's no line to it. Denver has been, 2-3 in their last 5. Toronto is still 4-1 in their last 5. This is still a solid team, and this is still Nick Nurse's squad. I told y'all, this team goes as Nick Nurse goes. Steven, what say you?
I think I think the Nuggets have more to play for because they have a much tougher road there. Well, actually, see, that's different. Just because Toronto knows where they sit. I almost think they want to let their guys just get ready for the actual playoffs, so maybe they don't run out a full team. And I think Denver hasn't had the success they wanted in the bubble yet, so I think they still want to run out their whole team because Jamal's just getting back. You're still trying to really fit in Porter Jr. to find his real role. So I think they're running a full team. I don't think Toronto is. So I think I like the Nuggets to win tomorrow early afternoon.
Okay, yeah, I see no lines on it as of right now, but what do you think? You think Toronto's got this in the bag, or do you think Toronto's going to turn off the gas, Rex, or is this the outright win for Denver?
This one and the Heat versus Pacers, in my opinion, should be canceled tomorrow. Zero implication on the standings. I think these 2 games, you're going to see the most vanilla. You're not going to see anybody play. I think guys are just going to go through the emotions. Maybe your 6th, 7th, and 8th man's going to be going at it to get the reps up. But in this one, man, that's why a line hasn't dropped yet. No one knows who's playing. No books want to get exposure yet. So this is just a coin flip at this point. But the one thing I did see from the Raptors, which kind of shows that, to Steven's point, that the Nuggets might be the better team, Nick Nurse didn't coach last night, right? He let his assistant do it, and he sat on the sideline in his Nick Nurse hat and just chilled. So, is that going to happen again? I've never seen that happen other than when Pop couldn't coach and let Timmy coach the one game. So that's where the strangest thing was. I flipped it on. I didn't see anyone tweeting about it. They're like, yeah. I was like, why is the assistant for Toronto constantly standing up and coaching and Nurse is nowhere to be seen then? Yeah.
That's funny. That is funny. But I've seen that a little bit more often than not in the bubble as well. I didn't quite catch that, though. So, yeah, that's actually segueing to our next game, which is Pacers at Heat. This is definitely a fluff game. You cannot tell me this is not a fluff game, right? You might as well get the janitors. You know what I'm saying? You might as well get the guys who's mopping the floor to play better than what you're going to see tomorrow from these teams, because these guys are going to see each other in full force next week, and that's when the bad blood's going to already start. So this is what I gather that's going to happen from this game. It's going to be a lot of high scoring. It's going to be a high scoring game from the lowest parts of the bench, and it's going to be a lot of crap talking between the starters to try to have a little mental warfare started. So I think you'll see the head coaches, you'll see Spoelstra for maybe a quarter or two try to flex his muscle with his depth, just so he could show, okay, this is what I've got. All right, Nate, look, this is what I got if we going into deep waters, right? And if your guys get into a little trouble. So I do see this game being possibly high scoring, possibly an over here, only because of the strategies that's in place. But this is a fluff game. Steven, what do you think?
Yeah, I don't think either team's going to try to tip any extra plays or any extra defensive sets that they'd usually run. So it's just going to be, I don't want to call it a practice, but it's not like it's going to be a little bit closer to like a pickup game, just get up and down the court, than it is like a full defensive battle. Because, I mean, I guess technically they got the same record, so whoever wins should end up being the 4 seed, because I thought it said they were both 44 and 28.
Yes, they are.
So even though that doesn't really matter in the bubble, you're playing at the same place all the time. Like, I don't really see a team trying extra hard, but I mean, it could go either way for sure.
And you're saying you're just totally out of this game, Rex.
Yeah, man. When they're like contemplating resting TJ McConnell, yeah, I'm out of it. Like,
hey, is that the third TJ or the second? Because I know they got a grip of TJs on the team. All right, man.
He's probably the best TJ on. No, I'm kidding. He's not the best TJ on the team.
The worst. We've got OKC at LAC. This is another game I want no part of. The Clippers have been an absolutely the worst display of a well-balanced team that you could ever display has been done by the Clippers. I swear to God, I don't know who the hell this team is. I don't know if they care. I don't know if they don't care. You see your second best player get punked by Dame, right? Now he's gone fishing the next day on a boat talking about he wants no part of social media because he decides to tell Dame, hey, jump in on that Patrick Beverly beef. This is what you get. Dame had no time for that. So this team, I just don't know what to expect from the Clippers. If you just want me to keep it real with you, these guys it kind of like they do what they want. They do what they want. Doc absolutely showed no cards. So that tells me that Doc does not care who he plays. He doesn't care who is 7. He doesn't care who is charting for the 7th seed, right? He doesn't care. They feel and they believe they have the team, and they are primarily set up to beat LA. They are to be the new kings of LA, and that's going to run through the Clippers and not the Lakers. So, looking at this squad, I wouldn't touch them with a 10-foot pole right now. If I was a gambling man, if I had someone else's money, I wouldn't touch them. All my money, regardless of where the line is, would be towards OKC, and that's regardless of who's playing. That is regardless of who is playing, because even if you put your top guys on the court, they're still not going to give 100%. You're still not going to get 100% from PG-13. You're still not going to get 100% from Kawhi because they're already thinking ahead. I think that is the mentality of Doc Rivers. He plays the long game, just like Pop does. I think Pop has kind of planted that seed in a lot of head coaches. And so he's playing the long game. So this is a game, looking at the lines when they came out, if they look good, I would just lean OKC and only OKC. What do you think, Rex?
So I am not 100% sure of the tiebreaker scenario off my head, but for some reason I feel like the Rockets can't fall to 6th even if Utah wins. So I think, to your point, if you want to play something, get Denver money line in a parlay or take their spread early. Once a minute it pops, Denver's going to or the Thunder are going to steam tomorrow because I believe they can fall to 6th. So it's either does the Thunder want to play the Rockets or do they want to play the Nuggets? Mm-hmm. Not too sure which one favors them more. I would maybe lean towards Houston, but Houston has so much more. That's like the NBA. David Stern's going to make sure that the Thunder stay in 4 so you can get that series played out. That's where I would lay. So I think OKC wins this one comfortably tomorrow. They're going to roll with the Pacers and Heat style, and you'll see their 8th to 13th men on the team playing 25 to 30 minutes tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, I think this Lakers team is, or not Lakers, Clippers team is pretty much the definition of what load management has become with Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. So I think that's what they're basically going to set up to do tomorrow. Is it's going to be a rest game for Kawhi, a rest game for Paul George. You're going to see a lot of names you're not super familiar with, and I think the Thunder, they obviously can't really move up at all. So it doesn't make that much of a difference to them, but I think the Clippers are just going to be phoning it in so much that I'm also probably leaning towards the Thunder.
Yeah, it would be Thunder or nothing for me here. I mean, that's still a good team. And they did it. I've been pretty surprised to see how well Chris Paul has done working off the pick and roll offense, even without Steven Adams in the game. He's done a good job with Nerlens Noel. He's done. I'm gonna tell you who right now, to me, is that breakout star in OKC, and that's Darius Bazley. And I'm gonna tell you something about his gameplay. When I look at Darius Bazley's gameplay, I feel that he is the new Westbrook. I feel that way. I'm just throwing it out there. You just look at him, but they're priming this guy to have the same tempo and have the same gameplay as Westbrook. But you know what we're going to do instead, Darius? Make sure you can make that outside shot as well. And that's what they're doing with him. And he's doing that. But OKC looks deep and they look good and they look like they can stay around. And that's, they played well without Schroeder or, Steven Adams. So we will see how, well they look in the playoffs. I think they're going to go far. Last game, which I don't even know why they're playing also. We can already tap this up with, the Nuggets, Raptors, and Heat and Pacers game is 76ers at Rockets. D'Antoni's playing absolutely no one. We just got word that Westbrook has got a more serious injury than we thought, right? And this guy's going to even miss some time in the first round, not unless he just got, the golden ticket. He's on serious vacation. We're not going to put Harden in the game to hurt him at all because we're already working without Westbrook in the first round. But sheesh, one of the hot takes, Rex, we said Philly would not win with Joel and Ben. And now Philly has neither. What say you, man? What's going on? Who's winning this game?
The Rockets probably will. We saw the Sixers play competitive with the Suns that we've been hyping up without Joel and Ben. They just blew another late lead. It's a Sixers story all the time. Brett gets outcoached in the fourth.
Let me just stop there. Why, Rex, you're the biggest 76er sympathizer. You're never going to say that they just look totally bad out there, right?
No, because when Joel's out there without Ben, they've looked good. I've liked what I've seen. It's made Shake play a more prominent role. It's opened up Toby's game, and Josh Richardson still just can't do anything out there. So, and the thing I wrote is this team's going to go as Shake can go, which is wild to say, an undrafted player, but I think Embiid's going to be ready for the Boston series, and I'm hyped for that. Tomorrow's game, I'll throw on in the background and watch at 9:00 at night. But I told you I wasn't going to write on the chalkboard the Bart Simpson gif. I'm going to convince myself the Sixers can beat the Celtics, but I did it. It's exactly how the Simpsons go. I'm down that alley. It's not going to be pretty. So,
Steven, please help your boy. Please get him out of the sunken place.
Just focus on your good team in your city. You only need to watch the Flyers game tomorrow. Because you don't want to come down off a good game and just feel super depressed watching Houston just put up a bunch of threes against the Sixers.
If they ain't playing anybody, not that I like our depth more, but it's going to be a glorified scrimmage tomorrow, so you can't take much from it. It's going to be what it is. They're going to go through the motions. Furkan's going to have the ball in his game, the ball in his hand the whole game, which is going to be scary. So take it with a grain of salt.
Yeah. You guys are just. I almost feel like you should go all out to try to win this game when it's going to be the Celtics in 4 or 5 next week.
Ooh, 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 just stick it in there. Yeah, but I just have to agree. Embiid is already fragile. And I just think, again, there's
Emotionally
something
or
that's going to
physically or both? I think it's both.
We're just going to say both, right? You know how I felt about him saying F you to the fans, Rex. I've always felt that way. You should have never done that. You lost my respect there. But you cleared the air and said, hey, as Philly fans, this is what we like to see. We like that grit and that grind and that fight. So, okay, that's fine. But I still feel like there's something more with this injury. I put him in the same category as he could possibly be another Greg Odom guy. As Zion Williamson could possibly be in that same category. There's just something not right when these big guys get hurt. I mean, I'm preaching to the choir at this point. So if I'm looking at this game, it is going to be a scrimmage game, as all these other games will be. And this is going to be another high-scoring game because Philly does have deep shooters. They have young, deep shooters. If you look deep into their bench, the Rockets are just not going to care, right? D'Antoni is already looking into, how he's going to make adjustments without Westbrook starting off 100%. So I don't see any advantage in putting any money towards Philly. I would be Rockets or nothing on this game as well. So looking at those games, man, it seems like there's really not any advantages to any of them. Do y'all agree?
Yeah, there's not a lot of stuff that could change either way. Because I don't really see any of these teams. It almost feels like because this is around the time, or no, it would usually be like a month from now, but this feels like one of those like preseason days. Like, nobody's playing for anything. Everybody wants to just get to the regular season, or in this case, the actual playoffs. So it's going to be a lot of sloppy basketball, but it is still basketball, and we need something to watch.
We need something to watch. What about you, Rex?
Thunder or once they open or nothing tomorrow. If not, play some overs, but look for that Thunder's opening line. Get the notifications from your book when it pops. That's going to steam. So if you're a guy that loves getting some CLV, that's going to be your game to go to and hit it early tonight. Stay up late when it drops.
When do you think that line to come out? It seems like they've been coming out a lot later.
It's because of
the books can't get them right.
It all started coming out later when you and I talked about this, I believe, or it's just on Twitter when the Spurs opened at 2.5 dogs to the Jazz, and it closed at -9 to the Spurs. So once Vegas got killed that game, they're opening it as late as possible to avoid another one of those scenarios happening.
But it happened today, I think. If I'm right, the line came in for the Suns at a +2, or was it the Suns or the Wizards? And I was like, wait a minute, this line is so damn wrong. Yes, it was the Wizards full game opened at +2. And when I looked at the line, I'm like, all right, okay. Something's got to be off, but you can't be this off. By the time I got to the books, it was Wizards laying 2.5 points, -2.5. I was like, holy cow, they got it wrong again. I should have just pounded it right then and there. But yeah, they got it wrong again. So you can see that Vegas still isn't up to par just yet because they're still working with the same sample size.
Well, it's the thing that we said where not many games are ending within one score. You have a handful of them, but majority are 10-point wins.
And it's literally hard. It's not saying that the books can't predict blowouts, but very seldom is a book going to predict, a double-digit game consistently, unless you're dealing with teams not playing their players. I want to say earlier in the week, y'all see that Brooklyn line? I think it was Brooklyn against the Bucks, right? And the Bucks, they came at -19. I was like, yo, this is the largest line I've ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
But all the money still came in for Milwaukee, and they sat there and lost that damn game.
It's the damn public, man. It's the public. That wasn't your sharps probably hitting that at -19. You might have had a few doing it, but that's just the public saying, using the simple brain mentality, the Bucks are better than the Nets.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I fell into that trap. I'm not going to lie, because I said, okay, you're not playing LeVert or Allen. I mean, this team is decimated. They're decimated on top of already being decimated, right? So, I mean, this is an easy game for the Bucks. And still, man, they came out and got mopped up. So we'll see next week. I don't think they're still going to. I don't think the books are ahead. If you can catch these lines, man, if you're the type of person who looks at these lines early and jumps on, the lines when you can, because they do move pretty quickly, you got to do that right now. It's going to happen next week, too. All right, last topic we're going to jump on real quick, y'all, and then we're gonna continue this. But I want to talk about some playoff futures. So we're just going to highlight some key games that you're looking at, and how you think the outcome is going to come about. Rex, we'll start with you. You give me 2 playoff games on the West, and then Steven, you give me 2 playoff games, or playoff matchups rather, on the East that you think are key.
Yep, just give me a second to get the standings up just so I don't misstate anything. All right, they're loading up on the West. Whoever the Lakers play, I don't think that should be a concern. It's going to be the Denver-Utah or the series, I think, is one to definitely watch, because they're going to end up drawing the Clippers next because they're not reseeding. It's the bracket formation. That Denver-Utah series, which I think Denver wins the Thunder win tomorrow, so Denver will play Utah, and I think that's a huge one. We've seen good Gobert and Mitchell together, and then we've seen the terrible of them in the same time in the bubble, even in the same time in the game. I'm not too sure who the Clippers want to draw because they don't have to travel out to Utah. I'm pretty sure they're the squad, or is the Warriors that said they hate going to Salt Lake City, so they won one more game just so that they didn't have to go back. So that's the biggest one I see. And then with the Rockets and Houston, that would have to be my second one. I don't think either of those squads are going to be an issue for the Lakers, but I know Russ won't be playing, but PG's still going to have some hate in his heart, and I think that's just going to be a more personal series than anything, and that's going to be physical. If you want a sleeper, I mean, let's see what Luka can do against the Clippers in a 7-game series, but I'm not expecting much.
Okay, so you're definitely not riding the wave with, if Portland gets in, they can give the Lakers a run for their money. You think this is still an easy, knockout? We'll do maybe Lakers in 5.
Dame can win you a game. We've seen that so far. We've seen that previously. We've seen that in the bubble. It's really how Zach Collins has came into that lineup to complement Nurkic in the middle. And Melo is looking, I would say, decent. He's looking better than I expected in the bubble. So if the Lakers get upset by the Trailblazers, that might be, when the Warriors beat the Mavs in 2007 or something like that? That would probably be the biggest upset since then.
Steven, your 2 matchups in the East.
You're on mute, brother.
Fucker. I swear, if the Trailblazers make it in and then upset the Lakers, or whatever team makes it in at the 8 seed, if they come in and upset the Lakers, that needs to be a LeBron retirement immediately.
Oh,
he can't come in as a 1 seed with Anthony Davis and all those players he's got on that team and then lose to either the Suns or the Grizzlies or the Trailblazers and think he can still play basketball. Like, nah, you're
Oh, wow.
you're done. You're washed. Like, get out of here.
Wow, this is what we're doing. I asked for 2 matchups on the East, and we're just still getting this LeBron hate here. Okay, I'll
But
take it.
I mean, there's only 2 series that are even going to be watchable in the East. I mean, Milwaukee's going to absolutely wash Orlando, and then Toronto's going to do the same thing to the Nets. So the 2 series that are even going to be watchable is going to be Boston, Philly, but I think that's going to be Boston without too much trouble. And then the best series is going to be Miami and Indiana. And even though one team's going to technically be the home team, they're essentially the same team. Like, they're pretty much even. So I think that's going to be the series that goes to 7 and could go either way. I think Oladipo can score with Butler. I think Indiana has the defense to match Miami's offense. And it's all going to come down to TJ Warren being like a second or third star with Miles Turner and Oladipo. And then it comes down to which one of the Holidays can play well and be a good scorer off the bench for Indiana. But I think Indiana wins in 6 or 7.
Ooh.
Ooh, wow.
I wish Kevin was here for that.
Yeah, that's kind of brutal. So I think you both make some valid points. I easily got sucked into the news or to this current, this onslaught of talk about the Lakers being bounced out in the first, and it's scary just to see how they play. You're not seeing AD at his best. You're not seeing LeBron at his best. You are seeing them trying to play. I've seen some schemes to where it's scary seeing LeBron take as many outside shots that he's taking. So I'm just thinking they're out there having fun. That's all I'm thinking. So the biggest matchup, I believe, in the East will definitely be it would have been, in my case, it would have been Philly and Boston, but it will be Miami and Indy because these teams are playing at an extremely high clip. In the West, I am going to look at Houston very closely because depending on how bad Westbrook's injury is, which, everyone is tight-lipped right now, they could get bounced in the first. Remember, this whole small ball experiment started this year. We already said that the Rockets were going to make it to the playoffs, but you cannot play small ball for a 7-game series and expect to win. And so I'm curious to see if this small ball experiment is going to work for Houston. And if they get bounced out in the first round, then it did not work. And you just see once they're also snake bitten. They could have gone all the way last year. Chris Paul ruptures his hammy, right? So it just always seems like there's some problems with his team. So we'll see how these playoffs go. Any last words, gents, on how you think the playoffs, what do you think is going to happen? When we talk this time, say next Friday, what's going to have happened, Rex?
One, I'm glad you didn't bring up my freezing cold take I had, so I appreciate you for doing that because that was like the running joke in our group chat. This time next Friday, the Sixers will have clinched. No, I'm kidding. I think this time next Friday, TJ Warren's going to come back to life or come back down to reality.
Wow.
Yo, by this time next Friday, the only thing the Sixers are going to have clinched is their plane tickets back to Philly.
Wow. This time next Friday, the Suns and Portland Trailblazers will be both yesterday's news. All right, y'all. That's how we end it. You make sure you follow me, man. I write content for the Breakdown Sports at It's Durrell, ITSDERL. We will do this show again. We will have some time to do this and talk about next week's games on next week. Rex, tell them where to find you and any closing words. And then you see.
You can follow me on Twitter at re_easy. That's with a Z. Still haven't lost faith in my Sixers, so going to keep doing it. And my final words is, the Scooby-Doo meme where they pull the hat off the bad guy? That's Adam Silver pulling the hat off of David Stern for only giving Giannis a 1-game suspension for that headbutt.
Yeah, you guys could find me on Twitter at StevenCarlson97. And the only thing I got left to say is a baseball thing, because the Cubs are the best team in baseball. We got another win today. Everybody else in our division sucks. 13-3. That's what I'm going to be talking about. UConn, underrated. The Cubs, best team in baseball. Those are the correct takes that you're going to get. That plus the Sixers are bad. LeBron sucks. He needs to retire. He's not even going to be in the playoffs and the finals. Get him out of here. Him and that fully gray beard that he dyes once he starts playing games. Plus him not having a hairline that he recreates every year before the start of the year. A bum.
Okay.
You good? You got anything else? You want to give us your social? You want to give us your thoughts on the Nets, on the Magic?
Yeah, the Nets are only down 6 at halftime. I need a comeback so I can see the Suns in the play-in game.
Okay, who did Giannis headbutt?
Mo Wagner.
Mo Wagner. That's why he got 1 game. He didn't headbutt James Harden. He didn't headbutt LeBron James. He headbutted a nobody.
Yo,
right?
What do we say that Giannis has to go beast mode for this playoff? And if Mo fucking Wagner's getting in your head and making you headbutt someone like Zidane, then come on, man. Like, if Mo Wagner's getting in your head, we got some serious questions.
God. All right, y'all. Y'all have a good night, and we'll talk to y'all later.
Deuces.